What's going on, everybody? It's the KDG, and I'm back again with another video. Today, we're with a special guest. We got Moh Haider here. Mo, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, listen, man, I'm good in all areas of my life apart from one. And unfortunately, the one area of my life that I'm not doing very good at is what we're going to be discussing today. But yeah, that's obvious, right?
There you go. There you go. So yeah, Mo, Arsenal is a thing of stress and you know at times enjoyment where we enjoy the ups and we are very disappointed about the downs, and there's been a lot of downs lately. But
Hmm.
before we get anything in anywhere near talking about Arsenal, I first need to speak to you as a person, ask you, what are you up to these days? How are you doing? And just how did you fall in love with this beautiful club that we love that at times just gives us stress?
You know what, man? Like, I have got people that know me personally know that I've got like an awful memory. I really find it hard. You know how some people remember, oh yeah, this European trip was we were playing this team and it was in this month of this year and this was a score. For me, like things just become a blur. So, one of the questions that I would love to be able to answer about my own life was exactly how I got into Arsenal. I can't remember the specifics. I've even asked my parents and that sort of thing, try and figure it out. But my earliest memory is Ian Wright. You know, that's what I put it down to. I think that he made me fall in love with Arsenal. And I remember in 1993, this is probably before the time of a lot of people watching, but I was watching Arsenal play Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup final and the FA Cup final in 1993, and I was desperate for us to win. And then I remember 1994 we beat Parma in the Cup Winners' Cup. In 1995 we lost in the final of the Cup Winners' Cup to Real Zaragoza to a ridiculous goal, and I remember crying. So I just think to myself, I was unbelievably happy in 93, I was buzzing in 94, I was crying in 95. So for me to get to that level of emotional involvement with the club, it must have started before 1993, but I can't remember anything before that. And I was born in 1984. So this is when I was 9 years old, is my earliest memory of like being desperate for Arsenal to win. And trust me, Arsenal were not fashionable back then. We played some boring football, which, Arteta could be trying to replicate by the looks of things. But yeah, man, that's how I fell in love with the club. And I just thought Ian Wright was just unbelievable, so charismatic, loved watching him play.
Ian Wright did really bring a lot of ethnic people closer to the game, because before Ian Wright, I don't remember. I remember we had guys like obviously Rocky Roadcastle, Kevin Campbell. We've always had uh, uh, black people or black gentlemen who were playing football with Arsenal, but Ian Wright was the first like superstar, I would say, that was known by everybody. And in our generation, Ian Wright what did bring a lot of eyes to Arsenal. He did
Mm,
bring a lot of people closer to Arsenal, and a lot of people around my age. I was born in '91. A lot of people around my age were affinited to Ian Wright, Henri, and everything else. So I get
yeah.
why you'd say Ian Wright. Now, when it comes to Arsenal, have you been a season ticket member for your whole life, or is just
Yeah,
recently?
basically, I look. I think that going to watch football is obviously we love it, but I still think it's a luxury in life. You know, there's a lot of people that can't afford that, and so for me, I was a member. But when I was at university and I was like trying to get my first decent job, I actually left. I wasn't a season ticket holder then. I left that as kind of an incentive for me because I thought to myself, I can't really justify being a season ticket holder paying all of that expense on the salary that I was on at the time. So for me, there were two things when I graduated and I then tried to qualify as a professional accountant. There were two things that were sort of like my motivation. One of them was an Arsenal season ticket, and the other one was a Nissan GTR. So I basically, as soon as I qualified, I got one of them, and I'm still yet to get the Nissan GTR. But I've got a 5-month-old son now, and I've got the Nissan GTR's little cousin. I've got the Nissan 370Z, or anyone from America, the Nissan 370Z. And my wife keeps on telling me I need to change that because I can't even go anywhere with him in the car. So I'd love to go get the GTR. Anyone from Nissan watching, then get on the phone. Yeah, let's talk because that's
Let's
got
get
some
it
back
done.
seats my little boy would do nicely in.
Hey, I don't know about the GTR, but you might be driving something else. I seen something fashionable in the background in your picture one time. I'm not sure if that was your car or
Yeah,
not.
that was a 370Z. So
There you go. So you
yeah,
do
yeah,
have a
that's
nice car. You don't.
yeah, yeah. But that's not quick enough, man. I want something a bit nicer. A lot of cars turn in my head these days.
Okay. So now let's talk about the journey on YouTube. What you're currently running your own channel? You want to tell people about
Yeah.
your channel, what you're doing?
Yeah. So basically, it's very, very simple. I don't like doing content for the sake of content. Me personally, I don't get that emotionally invested in transfer rumors. I spoke to Ivan Gazidis, Arsenal's old CEO, a few years back, and he kind of casually said something to me that I kind of clarified with him. But he said 99% of all the stuff you hear is just nonsense. And I said to him, yeah, like I thought he was making a general point. I said, yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I said, what exactly, like, be more specific. What percentage of the stuff do you think actually is nonsense? And what percentage do you think actually has got some truth to it? And he said, no, it was not a figure of speech. He meant 99%. He literally meant 99%. And the way I see it is that there have been times where I've just kind of kept a mental note of all of the names that we've been linked with in a transfer window, only to then not go and sign. And because of that, I've got so much more going on in my life than to get too engrossed in transfer rumors. I don't really care too much about it, which is why I don't bring content like that on my channel. I like to talk about what's actually happened. So I'm doing post-match fan cams. That's what I'm focusing on. And every now and then, look, if Arsenal went and signed Lionel Messi today instead of PSG, if we trumped him in the last minute, yes, I would be bringing that sort of content. But I'm talking about stuff that has actually happened and we all care about. So for me, it's quality over quantity. And I've got some really good contributors that are doing it as well. And what I've tried to do on my channel is not just get people that are attending the matches. I'm trying to get people from all races, creeds, locations, that sort of thing. So there's guys, there's girls, there's international fans, there's domestic fans, there's match-going fans, there's non-match-going fans. The whole works. And every single game, that's what you're going to be getting on my channel.
There you go. Mo, I'm not gonna lie to you. When it's not the transfer window, I don't talk about transfers because I just don't believe half of the stuff that's going on, just like to a certain degree, like you said. But when transfer windows open, I get sucked into it, man. I can't help but like say 1 second I'm high off Martinez being linked to us. Next second I'm saying he's not going to us. Then you got Maddison news. I'm believing everything AFC Bell says, and then people are telling me AFC Bell doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, I don't know what to believe at this point.
Yeah. Listen, man, everyone's in the know. Everyone's an ITK until they get proved that they're not. I've seen so many people with the whole ITK sort of vibe, and then next thing you know, it's done. And these are people that I know personally as well, even within AFTV and stuff. You know, people just trying their luck, and I find it cringeworthy. You know, like from my personal experience, the only time I have ever commented about a player before we signed him was off the back of a conversation with an Arsenal staff member who publicly said to me, yes, it's 99% likely to happen, and that was about Petr Cech. So I've seen other people make the mistake of trying to be an ITK because you know what comes with that ITK label: hordes and hordes of followers, loads of interest, loads of praise. So people try their luck, and some people have made the mistake in the past of providing a date, kind of saying it's going to happen by this point. And as soon as I see that, I'm thinking, I know you're chatting rubbish, and that's a big mistake, because if it doesn't happen by then, zero credibility. And I could name names, but I'm not going to be that unkind to people that have basically gathered a big following on social media by convincing people that they were ITK, and they knew nothing.
Yeah, I know some guys, man. How can you work at a grocery store and be speaking to Petr Cech's manager? It just doesn't make sense. But like, I know people who work at the Emirates, and when they see players, they'll be like, "Oh my God, I seen this player." They'll message me. They don't want to get fired, so I'm not going to say their names. But like that happens here and there. But unless you see them holding up the shirt, we know as Arsenal fans not to believe it, because we've seen pictures of Ibrahimovic holding up the shirt as when we were little kids, and if that was in a social media age, we would have thought he was done and dusted. Imagine.
Yeah. And look, do you know the thing is as well? The thing that I find really strange about it, I get that everyone really wants to know, right? But what difference does it make if you find out 5 days before the announcement or on the day of the announcement? What difference does it actually make?
Nothing.
I just kind of think, I personally, maybe it's my age, right? I've got a lot of things I'm working on. I've got a son. I've got a wife. I was just at the park with my nieces before I did this. I've got a lot of other things to do than to waste my time basically just reading up transfer rumors. So that's just how I feel. And I know it's strange because on one hand I'm saying that, and on the other hand I'm doing a YouTube thing, and you get people that do transfer dailies. Like, people watch it, they love it. They're my nieces, by the way. I'm
like me.
with this, yeah. But so yeah, like, it's a bit odd because so many people, that's a huge part of their content. But listen, for me, I care more about the things that actually matter, that are actually happening, rather than investing my time in things that never materialize.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those things that actually happened, some of those things that have happened this window. So we've signed 3 players, and they look decent. Ben White has looked really good in his appearances in the preseason. Lokonga really looks like he has that turn that turn in the midfield, his ability to receive the ball, know where he's gonna go, and he has the mobility to get around in the midfield, which we make fun of Granit Xhaka for. And you have Nuno Tavares, who is very good with both of his feet. He's almost like a left winger turned left back. And when he took that strike in his first game against Rangers, it caught me off guard because Aubameyang himself has been struggling to get those kind of chances off. So to get a left back to score that's quite impressive. But what's your thoughts on the 3 signings?
Well, my thoughts are Ben White is the only one that I expect to be a proper starter, right? And who I've got expectations for this season. Tavares, Lokonga, I don't think that they are signed to be starters. And for that reason, if they perform really well for us, or if they do anything in the first team this season, I think that's a bonus. It reminds me of sort of like Guendouzi. When he first arrived, he was not meant to be in the starting lineup, but he ended up being a decent part of the squad. Now, what I have to say is that with Tavares and Lokonga, after signing them and everything I've seen in pre-season, if they had done all of that in like a Chelsea shirt or a Tottenham shirt, I wouldn't be concerned. I wouldn't be thinking, oh man, I wish we signed them. So we have to be honest about the level of signing. They could be great in the future, but they're not players that right now make me think, oh, they're going to drastically change our chances. Ben White may well do that because David Luiz was a good centre-back on the ball. I have a lot of reservations about him off the ball. Ben White has come in because he's left, and he ties into Mikel Arteta's ethos and Mikel Arteta's system in terms of playing out from the back. Now, if he can do what David Luiz did on the ball, but improve on what David Luiz did off the ball, or what David Luiz didn't do off the ball, rather, then that will be really beneficial for Arsenal this season. But the other two, I think we're going to have to wait longer for them to really, really benefit us.
Yeah, I completely hear that. Now, Mo, I know you don't like talking about transfers or who we will sign and speculations, but what is your genuine feeling? We got a question here from one of my guys. He's saying, Mo, what player do you think we should sign?
Yeah, no, I don't mind this question at all. This is about who we should sign, and that I'm more than happy to discuss. What I get tired of discussing is it going to be OI? Is it going to be Maddison? Is it going to be who's the other one we were linked with? The other attacking midfielder.
Awar, Maddison, Odegaard,
that's it, yeah. Yeah, that I get tired of having that conversation. But on this one, very simple. Who do I think we should sign? A reserve goalkeeper, Onana, 6 million. Cut price. Yes, he's got a ban until November. I'm happy to run the risk, August, September, October in the season, and hope that Leno doesn't get injured, for the ability to beat the market with a goalkeeper who's got really good distribution, which Leno doesn't have, and then to basically challenge Leno. That one, more than happy to do. In terms of centre-back, we've gone out and we've got Ben White. Do I think we overpaid? Absolutely. But when you look at teams that have overpaid for players, I'll give you 2 examples, Maguire and Van Dijk, both centre-backs. Ultimately, people don't really talk about the transfer fee much anymore because they've proved that, well, certainly Van Dijk, Maguire, you could say potentially still questionable, but they've proved that they were needed and it was money well spent in a way. So hopefully Ben White will be the same. In midfield, I would have been very happy if we had just said, Bissouma, there you go, done, 30 million, 40 million, whatever it would have been, Premier League proven player, just go in and get him. I think he's definitely a massive upgrade on what we've got in the team and be a really, really good partner to Thomas Partey. So there's that. Then in addition to that, I look at a striker that I would like to have us to sign would have been Andre Silva. He got approximately 30 goals last season, maybe more, for God, who the hell was he playing for?
Um,
Really
uh,
good. Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt,
oh,
and now he signed for RB
Leipzig,
Leipzig, and yeah, he signed for, I think it was either 20 or
22,
30 million, depending on
22.
where you look at the source. That to me is incredible value. So there's a few players that I think we should have signed, and instead, look who we're linked with. We're linked with Ramsdale for 30 million. Compare that to Onana for 6 million. We're linked to the other one was Hassim Aouar, who's available, rumored to be 30 million. And that's another one that I would have liked to have signed. So instead, we're linked with Maddison for double the money. I'd love to sign Maddison, but had we wrapped up Aouar for half the money, I would have been happy with that. Instead, we're linked with Tammy Abraham for 40 million. I would have
Can I
liked to
stop
have.
you right there? I want to get into Tammy Abraham because I seen your post on Tammy Abraham, and I want to ask you about this. Explain to me your what's your thought process around this deal? Because it makes no sense to me personally. Are you as baffled as me when it comes to why we'd be linked to a Tammy Abraham over the likes of somebody like Andre Silva instead?
Well, no, it makes perfect sense to me. We love signing Chelsea rejects, man. We just live for it, don't we? So, look, I don't want to be. Look, Tammy Abraham's a young English striker making his way in the game, right? And apart from the fact that he plays for Chelsea, I wish any young player all the best, sort of thing. I obviously want him to fail anytime I see him in a Chelsea shirt, but I'd love for him to go to Roma and succeed, for example. I just don't think that he's the best that we can do in the market. I don't think that when you talk about beating the market, which Arsenal have to do, Onana for 6 million as a goalkeeper with great distribution, who plugs in a gap in our existing squad because we don't have a ball playing goalkeeper. That is what you call beating the market. Ben White for 50 million isn't beating the market. That's market price, or maybe a little bit more. Tammy Abraham for 40 million, to me, you've lost against the market there. Andre Silva for 20 to 30 million, that is beating the market. I know that I think he went to Milan and struggled. So he's had a bit of adversity in his career. But other than that, he's done really, really well. Tammy Abraham, I repeat, him for 40 not beating the market. I want to see us making sensible, good moves in the transfer window. Anyone can go and sign like Lukaku for 95 million if you've got the cash. But, that again is Arsenal have to be smarter than that with our money. If we go and sign Abraham for 40 million and Ramsdale for 30 million, we are not going to cover all of the positions that we need to cover in the transfer window.
Okay. Let's talk about stuff that actually happens then. Nothing rumored. Although Joe Willock went on loan last year, and there's a heavy rumor that he could be leaving to Newcastle for 25 million. What do you think about that? Because I know this is what?
I'm absolutely gutted about that. I really am gutted about that. And I get the argument. Like, let me give you two future hypotheticals, yeah? 6 months' time, Joe Willock hasn't scored a goal for Newcastle, has flopped there, he's not in the team. People will be turning around saying, wow, Arsenal did incredible business by getting rid of him for 25 million. Yeah. If that was the case, obviously people would say, well done, Arsenal. The other option is that in 6 months' time, Joe Willock is starting week in, week out for Newcastle, proving that the last month of the campaign where he scored goal after goal after goal, and the fact that he's developed timing of his runs into the box, that finishing ability wasn't just a one-off, and that's actually part of his game. Arsenal will be looking at that saying, we've missed out on something that's very rare in midfielders in world football. There's not that many midfielders that have got that ability to hit the target, to get those goals, that have got that timing of run into the box as well as Joe Willock has proven. Now, anyone that's watched Arsenal for a good number of years will remember Aaron Ramsey. He went on a half a season spell where he was unplayable. He was absolutely incredible. And he proved that he had that ability to get goals. Now, throughout Ramsey's time, he did have that ability, but he didn't keep he didn't keep it up to that level, throughout his career. I don't expect Joe Willock is going to do this week in, week out, but I think he has at least proven us via his loan spell that actually his upper limit is is incredible and actually really, really worth a lot more than 25 million. So I'm very upset that he's leaving. But I do understand that if we just need cash to go and get other transfers done, that could be a motivation. I personally would rather have kept Joe Willock, explored his upper limit in terms of his potential, and given him a chance that I think he has deserved and he has proven that he deserves with his loan spell. And if it didn't work out, how much would we sell him for? 10 million, 12 and a half, 15. So what's the actual cost to Arsenal of saying, actually, let's just hold off and see whether this guy can really hit the heights? The cost is 10, 12, 15 million. That's nothing. I think we should have kept him.
My rebuttal is, if he wasn't going to even play and feature in the preseason, I don't think he had a plan to keep him long term at Arsenal or to even play him or integrate him into the team during the regular season.
So my rebuttal to your rebuttal, Egal, yeah? What is Arsenal's plan B in terms of our style of play?
Honestly, at this point, we don't use midfielders to make late runs into the box. So if Joe Willock was to be put into the team, he would be asked to do the opposite of that. He'd be asked to play deep.
Yeah. But what is our plan B? My question is, what is our plan B? When you look at Arsenal's pattern of play, the way we try and approach games, whether you can even tell me our plan A is one thing, but I'm asking, what is our plan B? And I'll give you an example. A few years ago when we had Giroud on the bench, he was a very clear plan B. It's not working for us. We slap him on. We change our approach. We hug the touchline more. We get crosses in. It stretches teams a little bit. Hold up play. Midfielders running beyond him. Very, very good finishing ability at the near post, for example. So crossing to the back post and near post. So what's our plan B under Arteta today?
I honestly would not be able to give you a definitive answer. We've seen many different things. We've seen one, we just tried to push as many men forward where we leave ourselves open at the back. Two, we've seen situations where we just ask our strikers to drift wide and let inside forwards fill the middle. And then just those are the two situations that we've seen. Also, whenever Aubameyang and Lacazette are on the pitch together, it's almost like we're playing a default 4-4-2 with Aubameyang a little bit higher than everybody else.
But anyone in the comments, tell me, what's our plan B? The point is, Egal, I'm asking you a question that I can't answer myself, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I don't know what our plan B is. And on that basis, that's where I think Joe Willock comes in to this squad. When it's not working for us, I think we can then try and adapt and go with.
This is the plan B.
I think we can try and go with sort of like 2 8s in midfield with a defensive player behind them, for example, and maybe sacrifice one of our forward players just for some sort of variation in our play. Right now, I think Arsenal are very, very easy to play against, very easy to defend against. And if we were going to have a plan B and go with number 8s in the team, I think Joe Willock is probably the best number 8 at the club right now. We could say look, Thomas Partey's shooting is questionable, even though it looks like it's improved a little bit this summer. But Partey and Willock in a plan B in a plan B with 2 8 sort of thing could potentially work. Or if we get Maddison, for example, Maddison has spoken about being a number 8 more than a number 10. If we would say the plan B is Willock, Maddison, ESR above them and Partey behind them, to me that represents something that we haven't seen before and that could just ask some questions of opposition. I would have kept Willock for his potential and for a plan B sort of strategy.
Okay, now let's move away from Willock. There's some players that we also wanted to sell, but we didn't sell. Granit Xhaka was subsequently offered a new contract after the Roma deal collapsed, and Granit Xhaka seems to be staying right now. A lot of people have mixed feelings on Granit Xhaka. Some people think he's one of our most integral players to the way we play. Last season, if he was available versus Villarreal in the second leg, they think we would have gone further. I personally think Granit Xhaka is not as bad as everyone makes him out to seem. He has his good, he has his bad. Sometimes the good does not outweigh the bad. The bad is a lot worse sometimes, like the goal against we conceded against Burnley. But right now, Roma couldn't even afford 13 million for him, but they're willing to spend 35 on Tammy Abraham, just to show you what they thought about him. Exactly. I'm going to throw it over to you.
Listen, man, what I would say, Granit Xhaka, I don't hate the guy. I don't think that he's been a success at Arsenal, but this is not me speaking. It's not my style to speak from a place of emotion about players. I don't hate players that play for Arsenal. I'm going to be fair to Granit Xhaka and say that if you, as a player, go to a club and it doesn't work out for you, it doesn't make you a bad player. If you never succeed at any club, that makes you a bad player. But there have been far better players in the Premier League that have tried and failed than Granit Xhaka. For example, Juan Sebastian Veron, incredible player in the past, just didn't work out for him in England. You look at Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, they failed in Italy for some reason. You look at, let's say, God, and what other players have really struggled in England? Shevchenko. He's struggled in England. Mkhitaryan struggled in England. Look at Alexis Sanchez, struggled in...
Di Maria.
Di Maria. Alexis Sanchez struggled at United, worked for him at Arsenal. Like, there's so many examples of where you can look at a player and say, wow, I'm really surprised they didn't succeed in this country. Granit Xhaka has not worked in England. When I first saw Granit Xhaka play, I go and watch my video on AFTV. The first time I ever saw him play, I said to him, you can see like a Xabi Alonso sort of mold in him. And I stand to that to this day. In the Euros, I thought he was brilliant. I think if Granit Xhaka went to Italy, he would get in the team of the season there. He would be brilliant. It would suit him so much. When he's got time on the ball, he can get his head up and he's not got too much pressure because he's not press resistant, but he's got a lovely left foot on him, spraying passes. And he needs to be playing well to be a good leader. Now, at Arsenal, people don't allow him to play well. He doesn't have the agility. He doesn't have the two-footedness. He doesn't have the press resistance to be a top Premier League midfielder. But yes, there is obviously talent there. So I would love to see him leave. I think someone like Yves Bissouma would be a massive upgrade on him in the Premier League. But equally, I don't think Xhaka is a waste of space. I don't think he's a rubbish player. But because of the issues that I've spoken about, his one-footedness, lack of press resistance, lack of agility, he makes a lot of mistakes. And those mistakes are forced out of him in the Premier League. And because of these mistakes, I feel like he lacks composure. He doesn't have enough time to have a good performance and then compound that with another good performance where he can get into a good rhythm of confidence. I think he should leave, and I'd be happy if we upgraded on him.
There you go. Now, talking about him, there's another player who also was linked to leave this summer, Hector Bellerin. We haven't gotten any deals or any bids in for him. The situation with Hector Bellerin, Mo, is that Inter wants a loan. They don't want an obligation to buy. Arsenal want to get an obligation to buy because we don't want a situation where we loan him out, he comes back and his value decreases because he played poor over there. And at this point, it looks like Denzel Dumfries might even go to Inter Milan at this point. So with that situation escalating and Denzel Dumfries possibly going to Inter, it looks like Hector Bellerin might stay. We just suffered a blow on possibly selling him to our only real option. There's still Villarreal, Sevilla, and other clubs, Real Betis, interested, but none of them have put in any formal or informal bids. Yeah. Hector Bellerin staying for another season and starting at our right back would be a hindrance in my opinion. What about yours?
Well, look, the one thing I will say about Hector Bellerin, I'm insanely proud that Hector Bellerin plays for Arsenal because I think he's as a person brilliant. Like, I really think he's like a new breed of footballer who isn't scared to do more. Like, he's in the sort of Marcus Rashford mold. And I'm proud when I see what he does off the pitch. But on the pitch, he simply hasn't pushed on as much as he should have. When he first hit the scene, I was blown away. I thought, what a gem of a player. He really, really was an incredible young player. And I was so excited about his development. Unfortunately, he hasn't pushed on. Maybe that's down to injuries. He does have my sympathy when it comes to that. Some players never recover from certain injuries. And I feel like with his injuries, it may well be as a result of that. So yes, I would be absolutely fine with Bellerin moving on. I'm glad you mentioned Denzel Dumfries because I thought he was brilliant in the Euros. I don't claim to watch Eredivisie regularly at all, so I don't know sort of what PSV fans would say about him and whether they would say that he's kind of top club caliber. But ultimately, I mean, from what I saw of him, I would like to think he can do a better job than Hector Bellerin did last season. So I find it very frustrating that we haven't gone in for him. And from what I understand, he is available. So, look, it's another frustrating one that we have so many players that we would like to move on, and we simply have not been able to do that.
There you go. Guys, let's do me a favor, guys. We have over 100 people in the chat. Smash that like button. Everybody, do me a favor. Just if you have any questions for Mo, you can put them in the chat right now. I'll be bringing on some of my regulars to ask you some questions, Mo. Last thing that I want to ask you, I don't want to put you too much on the spot. You can deflect it if you want, but I personally, I'm not Arteta out. I'm not Arteta in. I'm Arsenal in. I support the team and the manager, whoever is in charge at the time. I'll question his tactics. I'll question him after performances. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to be screaming and yelling, I want this manager out. I want this person out. I did that under Unai Emery. And looking back at it, nothing's changed. It's the issues are deeper than just the manager. So personally, I don't have a specific in or out stance. I'm more just like I game to game paces. I'll tell you what my thoughts and feelings are about the performances. That's how I look at things. But what do you think about that whole in and out culture, and where do you stand on it when it comes to
Yeah.
Arteta?
Look, I love the question. Love the way you phrased it as well, Egal. I personally am fed up of the whole in-out thing because for me, it's half a conversation. This goes back to the Arsene Wenger days, right? If I said to you, Egal, I want you to move home, basically, are you in or out? Are you going to move or you're not going to move? First thing you'd ask is, well, where am I going to move to? You'd want to know what what it looks like. So your new place. So for me, it's half a conversation. And when I hear people shouting, oh, Wenger out or Wenger in or Emery or Arteta, I think to myself, my God, you criticize the people that run the club, but if you run it on that level of emotion and lack of coherent thought, then we'd be in a very bad place. You can't just say so-and-so out without any thought or conversation about who's going to come in. So if someone said to me, Arteta out, Mourinho in, then I'm Arteta in. If someone said to me, Arteta out, Antonio Conte in, well, then yeah, I'm Arteta out. But let's frame the conversation properly. Back to the Arsene Wenger days. If people said to me, all right, Arsene Wenger's got to go, but we get Pep Guardiola, I would have said, fine, I'm all for it, I love Arsene Wenger. I thought, he's probably the most influential person ever at Arsenal in terms of what he's done. But, there was a time where he was on the decline and Pep Guardiola was the best manager in the world. So with Arteta now, I would absolutely be happy if Arsenal signed someone like a Guardiola, a Klopp, a Conte, an Allegri, even a Gasperini at Atlanta, a Ten Hag at Ajax. I don't think it's very hard to get better than Arteta because 8th place and no trophies and poor man management and ridiculous decisions, a poor FA Cup showing, an awful showing in the Europa League, especially in the semi-final against Villarreal, which was just a laughable performance. That's not hard to improve on. So absolutely, I'd like to see a change of manager, but it all depends on who that manager is. And do I trust the board to recruit the right manager? Absolutely not. Let's look at our rivals down the road in Tottenham. They got rid of Pochettino, who's now about to manage Messi and be the favourites for the Champions League.
Yeah.
They did it for Mourinho and then Nuno Espirito Santo. Are they out of their mind? If only they could turn back time. So the people that, were kind of shouting, Pochettino out, can you imagine how silly they feel now? So I'm very much like you. I'm not, do you remember the acronyms AKB, WOB?
Yeah.
I'm an American company. I'm AT&T. That's Arsenal through and through. That's it.
Let's get it. I love that. You got me hyped now. Just before I bring on the first guest, I want to ask you, let's do a little bit of the season preview. Season's coming up. First 5 games, we have Brentford, Chelsea, Man City, Burnley, and I think
Norwich and then Burnley, isn't it?
Norwich, then Burnley. So with those 5 games, home and away, away, home, away, home, away, home, for the first 5 games, are you a little bit worried? How do you feel going into the new season? And finally, if you could caveat that in saying, where do you think best odds of us finishing at the end of the season, and who do you think you're most looking forward to and not and what you're most worried about? So just like kind of a little bit of a season preview.
Sure. Season preview. Arsenal are an average team. When I looked at Arsenal against Tottenham in the friendly the other day, I looked at that and I was looking not just at the result, I was looking at overall patterns of play on the ball, how we press, how quickly we get into shape, what we're like at set pieces. I was looking at our play in possession, how dynamic we are, how our midfielders get forward, how they support the strikers, the fact that we've got Aubameyang playing out of position. Does he feel comfortable? Does he know what he's doing? He's played well on the left before. Some of his best moments in an Arsenal shirt have come off the left-hand side, where he's cut in and found the back of the net. But I was looking at, does it feel like it's in a rhythm? Do we look like we're confident, well-versed? The answer was no to all of that. What I saw was average. Not sort of a comedy of errors, sort of like, yeah, we're just about mixing it. We don't look great, just average. And where do average teams finish? Anywhere between 6th and I'd say 12th. That's where I think Arsenal will finish. I think we'll finish 7th or 8th next season. Who's better than us in the league? Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man U, Tottenham, Leicester, potentially Villa. They're all better than us in the league. So I think we'll finish anywhere between 6th and 12th. Brentford, I think, will draw. Brentford is going to be rocking. I'm annoyed that Arsenal are the ones that are going to be lined up to start the season against the newly promoted team. Not just a newly promoted team, a team that has never, ever played a Premier League game before. They're going to be under the lights on a Friday. The world's attention is going to be on them. People have been missing Premier League football with fans throughout the whole world. People have been missing it. Brentford are the lucky ones. They're the ones that get to welcome the whole world, millions in attendance at their stadium under the lights to watch them take on the mighty Arsenal, a club with a huge reputation. That if they win, they announce themselves to the whole world as this is what they did in their first game. This game has been lined up and specifically selected for the upset. And I think Arsenal will not win that game. I think we're going to draw against Brentford. Yeah. And then I think we're going to suffer 2 defeats against Chelsea and Man City. So that takes us to September. And if we have got 1 point out of 9 in September, we could likely find ourselves in the bottom 3. This is my worry. We have got Thomas Partey.
Could you say that one more time? You honestly think we're going to lose the first 3 games?
No, I think we'll draw against Brentford.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll draw against Brentford. Yeah, which, is not exactly good. So I don't think the fixture list has been kind to us at all at the start of the season. Chelsea and Man City, 2 of the first 3 games, and I just wish that we were just a Saturday 3 p.m. non-televised kickoff against Brentford, because trust me, they're going to be rocking. And from what I've seen, look out for this specifically. From what I've seen at defensive set pieces, we look very, very dodgy, very sketchy. Brentford are going to target us for their goals on set pieces.
Yeah, I could imagine. They're definitely going to try to get us. They're going to try to get us on the counter, try to get us on free kicks and corners. Now, I'm just going to add my guys. Big up to everybody watching on Twitter. If you can come join us on YouTube for the rest of the video, for the Q&A part of the video, and welcome everybody on YouTube and on Facebook. I'll be now taking callers one by one. I got 3 of my regulars backstage right now. I'm just going to add them in to ask their questions. Now, Mo, just before they come on, who do you think our player of the season will be? Preemptive guess, of course.
Good question, Nicola Pepe. I just have a feeling. I feel like he's bubbling under, and on that right-hand side, I feel like he could do a really good job.
Okay, so first person I'm going to bring on is Muhdin, then Azlan, then Gunnar Express is going to be last. Muhdin, welcome. How are you doing, Muhdin?
I'm good, bro. I hope all of you, both of you, are good, and great to see more on the channel.
How's it going, Muhdin? We don't get to see your face, bro.
Bro, next time I will, not now. Brother, for me, I want to ask you 2 questions, okay?
Sure.
My 2 questions are, why are we always unprepared every season? Second question, if we are a big club, why is it hard to sign players? We know the positions that we desperately need. Why can't we look at the bigger clubs, look at Chelsea. Everyone knows they don't have a striker, so they immediately get. So for me, Arsenal, I don't know what's wrong with this club. Those 2 questions for me, bro.
Well, I'll take the second one first, right? Muhdin, you need to ask yourself what determines whether you're a big club or not. Now, Arsenal are a big club, but we need to look at why. And when we look at all the factors that make a big club, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that come into the conversation to determine who's a big club and who's not. And history is a big part of that, what you've won in the past and the players that have played for you and that sort of thing. When you look at all the factors that determine whether you're a big club, Arsenal get A stars on all of the history. You know, some of the great players that have played for us, the trophies that we've won, some of our achievements. But when you look at the present, when you look at who your top players are now, when you look at, for example, the stadium is another factor. When you look at like the ambition, when you look at what competitions you're playing in, Arsenal don't get A stars in many of those departments, right? So yes, we've got some big players. Who would you say our biggest player is worldwide? Aubameyang?
Aubameyang.
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah, Aubameyang. Even though he hasn't impressed me in the preseason.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But I'm talking about reputationally. When we had Mesut Ozil, he was big time. You know, when we had Alexis Sanchez, big player. Now we don't actually have many of those. Yeah. So when we're looking at the present and we're looking at all the factors that determine whether you're a big club, only focusing on the factors that are in the present. Yeah, we've got a big stadium, but other than that, we're not playing in any European competition, never mind the top European competition. We couldn't even qualify for the Europa League, never mind that. The European Conference League, we couldn't even do that. We don't have a trophy to our name from last season. So I would question whether we truly are a big club anymore. And the other thing I'd say is that big clubs act like big clubs. And in the transfer window, not just this season, but in previous seasons, Arsenal don't really act like a big club. We don't go and say, this is who we need. We're just going to go and get them. What we do is wait for dominoes to fall. So we rely on the true big dogs to go and start the movement in the transfer window. So what I'm saying is never ever lower your expectations. But unfortunately, the demise under the Cronkies is this is what it does. We should never accept not being a true big club. But why would you want to play for Arsenal? If you're out there, let's say you're Raphael Varane, we need a centre-back. Why would you want to move to Arsenal? Do you really believe that we're going to show the ambition that would match your level of ambition? So that's the sad truth.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much.
Mahdeen, thank you for joining. Then we got Aslan. Aslan, you're next.
Evening, brothers. How's everyone doing?
Everyone's well.
Good, Aslan. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I mean, Muhyiddin beat me to it, so I'm just gonna ask you a more light-hearted question, brother. Which two players from the 90s era and the early noughties would you pick to come into the current squad and help the team?
Oh, what a question! What a question! Patrick Vieira, for sure. He's my first pick because Patrick Vieira, he's not my favorite all-time Arsenal player, yeah, and I don't think he's the best. But in terms of what we need in this team, one thing we're desperate for is a leader, yeah, and the second thing we're desperate for is like a proper spine in the middle of the park. Right now, in terms of midfield options, I don't think we've got them. And then I think to myself, Arteta plays a style of football that I think take away from our attacking flair. It's easier to be a good defensive coach than it is a good offensive coach, in my opinion, right? So yes, he can get us. We had a decent record defensively last season. We had one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, actually. And that has come at a cost. So what we need is some magic up top. So that's why I wouldn't get someone like Tony Adams, even though, my God, I'd love to have someone like him. So Vieira, especially seeing as I've got him, would give us some more of that defensive solidity, even though he's actually so box to box. People falsely make him a defensive midfielder. He was so much more than that. He did everything. But now we need some of that magic going forward. And for that is Bergkamp or Henry. And I feel like because we're struggling to score goals, it would just be Henry. So Vieira and Henry, for me, would be the two guys that I would say, man, if we could have in the team, I'd actually be looking forward to the season.
Do you have another question, AK?
I'll ask this. I mean,
do you agree with what I've said, or
no? I mean, both great choices, Mo. I agree with both of them, but if I'm going to be a little bit different, I would have said Vieira and Ian Wright.
Okay.
Because look, we all know Thierry is the king, yeah. But me picking Ian Wright he's the reason why I started supporting Arsenal.
Yeah.
So and he's a winner. He was also, a certified gunman. But like Vieira, 100%, he would have been the first on that team sheet because we are definitely lacking a leader, and he would be a welcome addition to this current squad, no doubt. And one last thing, I mean, I don't know if Egal asked you this, but do you feel that with the time remaining that we have from today to the end of the window, do you believe that we are going to make the necessary additions before the transfer deadline day?
I'll say no, we won't. And we will make some additions, right? So I don't think that we're not going to do anything, but you said the necessary additions. And so now that's subjective in terms of what we deem to be necessary. What I deem to be necessary is so wide-ranging that it can only be done if we get the necessary players out first. Because we've got a squad that's too big and we don't have the cash to, from the way I see it, we don't have the cash to go and make the necessary additions without getting certain players out the door first. And because of our struggles in getting them out the door, no, I don't think we'll do what's necessary to get us back in contention, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that, brother Mo. Egal, big up, bro. Big up, Mo. Big up, everyone tuned in.
Thanks, bro. Now, Gunnar Express, your last. Gunnar Express, what was your question?
I mean, yeah, first off, big up Egal. Obviously, big up Mo as well. It's great to have you, obviously, on the channel with Egal. But the question that I have, it's not really an Arsenal question more than it is just a general Premier League. It's like a two-part. The first part is, who do you think is going to be the Golden Boot winner? And then the second part is, who's going to be the first manager to get sacked in the Premier League this season?
First manager to get sacked. That's a good one. Let me go with the Golden Boot winner. Tell me this, though, first. Where's Harry Kane playing next season?
I'm putting him at Man City, bro. I think he's got Man City.
Answer. There's your answer. I have been wrong before. I thought when Chelsea signed Shevchenko way back when, I thought that was the end of football. I was just ready to just burn my TV. I was just like, it's done. Football's done. They're going to dominate. And then he flopped. I couldn't believe it. So that's always made me think no player is guaranteed to succeed. But Harry Kane at Man City, my God, I just think they're going to walk it, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. 100%.
Someone said Arteta first one to get sacked, and Kelechi Iheanacho from the Leicester fans saying, I don't think that's going to happen.
The problem is, maybe Arteta should be the first manager to get sacked, but that requires ambition from the owners. And I don't think that he does. And for that reason, I don't think he will be the first one to get sacked. But now I'm just trying to think who is likely to be the first manager to get sacked.
I think it's going to be who was under the most pressure last season. It was Arteta. So Arteta is the most going into the season with the most pressure. Let's be honest.
I agree with Mo, though. I mean, I would love to say Arteta, but I kind of agree with Mo. It depends.
But it's probably Watford. Guys, we can't forget Watford are in the Premier League. So as long as Watford are in the Premier League, their manager is most likely the first one to get sacked.
I mean, for me, it's between him and Ralph Hassen, who got at Southampton. I think they so I think it's between them two for me. The Watford
I think
guy,
actually Hassen, that's a really good shout, Hasenhüttl, because let's not forget they're going to be without Danny Ings as well, and that's going to make it much harder for them to do the business.
Apparently, Vestergaard's going to Leicester as well, which is a massive hit to their defence. So,
right, yeah,
I think they could be screwed personally.
To replace Fofana, that's
apparently. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, Georgie can probably correct that if it's wrong. But if Vestergaard leaves, then they could be in big trouble, man.
All right, Gunnar Express, man. Appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah, big up, bro. Big up Mo as well, man.
Cheers,
yeah. And just before we wrap up, guys, we got a couple more minutes left. Let me just go back to some of these comments. what do you think about people who say your comments were negative? Because one person saying here your comments were extremely negative, and some people here are saying he's very sensible and logical. So like, what do you think about people calling people negative as fans just for voicing their opinion that's different from each other?
No, I don't think that that's a criticism. When someone's saying I'm negative, whoever said it, they can clarify whether they think that's criticism. I don't take that as a criticism. I take that as a reflection of how I'm feeling about Arsenal right now. What's important is not whether you're positive or negative. If you're negative inappropriately or positive inappropriately, that doesn't. There's no benefit to that. You know, look, if a friend is feeling low, I'm not going to say to him, "Oh, stop being negative," or "You're being negative." I'm going to try and help him understand why he's feeling negative, and he might well be in a position where I can understand him feeling negative. And what I'll try and do as a friend is try and say to him, "Right, what steps can we take to make you feel positively about whatever you're feeling negatively about?" So feeling negative in itself isn't a bad thing. That's part of life. You have positive and negative moments. Arsenal is a part of my life. Right now, I'm not feeling positive about Arsenal. I don't think there are many signs to feel positive. We finished 8th last season. We finished 8th the season before that. We didn't win a trophy last season. I thought it was a very poor showing. I don't think that there has been much improvement. I don't think there's been enough addition to the squad to really substantially change the way we were last season. So last season was a negative. If you don't think last season was a negative as an Arsenal fan, I think that perhaps you need to address your expectations of what you think Arsenal should be achieving. So yeah, I'd like that person to kind of clarify whether that's a criticism of me for me saying I'm negative. If I meet someone that is positive right now, I'd be quite eager to understand whether they can provide a rational and logical explanation as to how they get to that point of positivity. I think it's quite difficult to get there right now as an Arsenal fan.
I'm not positive, but what I am is I'm an optimistic fan. I just every game I go into it optimistic that we're going to find a way to win. Every game I go into optimistic that every season I go into optimistic that we could do something better than we did the season before. So one thing that I look at as a fan going into this season, I look outside of Arsenal and I look at the people around us and I say to myself, who can we surpass? Who could we overtake? Who could we gazump? And what do we have going that's actually gone good? I look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and I look at everything balanced to a certain degree. But every time that I speak, people always just think I'm only talking about the good. Maybe I don't articulate myself well enough, Mo, because whenever I'm in arguments, it's people are saying, why can we sign a player? I'm explaining the reasons why we can sign it. And I'm called delusional or just like believing everything I read. And when it comes to why we can beat Man City or Chelsea in the first opening 3 games, there is reasons why you can beat them. Doesn't mean we're going to beat them. There is reasons why we're going to sign James Maddison. Doesn't mean we're going to sign them. There is reasons why we could do terrible this season. And there's also reasons why we could do good in the sense we don't have European football. We have a young core of players that could develop and take second. They can get to the second level of their career. You've seen Mason Mount and Phil Foden take leaps in their career. Maybe Saka and Smith Rowe could make those kind of leaps. Maybe you could see Martinelli take a leap and where he gets more games in the first team. You can see Ben White is still young. Tierney's still young. Gabriel is still young. Lokonga is young. We have a very young team. It almost brings you back to the days where we had the young core. There's such a young core of players in this team that they could all take a step further in their career. We could see a completely different Arsenal this season based on the fact that Arteta has gotten rid of that clique that was in the team at the beginning of last season with Mesut Ozil, Said Kolasinac, Mustafi, Socrates, and the rest of those guys. So not having an overweighted squad, not having toxicity in the locker room, that could change a lot. And also not being in Europe, playing every single week, 3 games. It could help the teams refresh. It could help us going into games more fresher than other teams, and it could help us bring more balance to a team that constantly gets injured and constantly finds the same situation every December. Maybe a year out of Europe was a blessing in disguise that can get us back into pushing for top 4. That's where I come from. I'm not saying we're going to get it, but I'm hopeful that we could find that way to get into that mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, and when you say we could beat Chelsea, we could beat Man City, it goes without saying that you're not necessarily going to say that we are going to do that or put your life savings on it. But you look at the second round of fixtures in the Premier League, Man U are playing Southampton away, Tottenham are playing Wolves away, Chelsea are playing Arsenal away. Then you've got Man City at home to Norwich, you've got Liverpool at home to Burnley. It's very easy to turn around and say Liverpool, Man City will win at home, Man U, Tottenham and Chelsea will win away. If it's that easy, bookmakers would be out of business. There will be an upset somewhere. There will be an unexpected result. We just have to hope that that's the Arsenal one. That's the nature of football. Every single match day, it's very likely that there will be unexpected results somewhere in the league. So of course it can be Arsenal, but if we couldn't live in hope, it would be pointless being a fan. We have to at times, focus on the hope rather than what is very likely to happen. Otherwise, it's a very depressing affair. So look, fingers crossed, but even kind of when you're painting some more of a positive picture, you're talking about the youth, which kind of harks more to the future rather than the present. So, even the positive spin doesn't necessarily make me think that this season's going to be great. Perhaps it's going to be in future seasons. But I just think the start that we get in the Premier League is of huge importance. We need to beat Brentford, hopefully get a result out of Chelsea at home. Man City away will be very difficult. And then Norwich, Burnley. If out of those games, let's say, for example, we beat Brentford, beat Norwich, beat Burnley, draw to Chelsea, 10 points out of the first 15, I'd be very, very happy with that. I'd be very happy with that. That's sort of best case scenario for me, which is a shame because I'd like to be saying that best case scenario would be 12 points plus, but I think best case scenario is 10 points. What I'm worried about is we do go and draw to Brentford, and then by the end of those first 5 games, best case scenario is 7 points, and that becomes very, very average. But hopefully there'll be more reasons to be positive when we find ourselves looking at the table after the first 5.
Wow. Honestly, man, I could have a conversation with you about Arsenal every single day. This was great. Hopefully, you can join us during the season, guys. Mo's going to be doing his channel. His channel is actually in the title. You just click on the title. You can go directly to his channel and subscribe from there. We have over 140 people, 160 people who jumped in and out throughout the chat throughout the whole time. Appreciate Mo for giving us an hour of your day. And if you were to say, how do you think this season's going to go? Do you think it's going to be a rough, bumpy ride? Or you think just end us off in a way that you think how the season's going to go?
Yeah, man. Listen, I've never been less enthused about a season than I am on this occasion. I really, and I mean that. In years and years watching Arsenal, I've never been this just deflated. Especially after missing going to games for so long. I thought I'd be buzzing. And don't get me wrong, I'm desperate to go back to the stadium, but I just am lacking expectation. I'm lacking any expectation. So I think it's going to be a difficult season. I think it's going to be a real bumpy ride. The question that I ask people myself is, and I'm going to put you on the spot now, yeah? Do you think Mikel Arteta is going to be the Arsenal manager at the end of this season? And if your answer is yes, then you can kind of turn around and say that, okay, you might not think we're going to have a bumpy ride. But clearly, if your answer is no, then that means we're in for a bumpy ride. So what's the answer?
Okay, I think Mikel Arteta will find a way to get this team to compete for top 4 come the end of the season. And we won't have as much injuries due to European football, and he will still be in a job based on the fact that the board will get, if he does get a bumpy ride, they'll give him time to stay to get back on course like they did last year.
I would love you to be right. I'd absolutely love you to be right. I personally think that with fans back in the stadium, if this season is anything like last season, and so far from what I've seen, I don't see any big improvement or any improvement. I think that it could get very toxic very quickly. But the one thing that I'd always say is that as an Arsenal fan, the thing that I always want, and this is one thing I find strange about many other fans who put their own agendas and what they have said publicly becomes sort of more important to them than the club. I always want the most efficient route to success. So whether that's Arteta turning it around and being a brilliant manager, whether that's Willian proving me wrong and everyone else wrong and having an amazing season and winning Player of the Year, That's what I want. I always want the people that are currently wearing the Arsenal shirt to do well. I see some people, they don't want Nketiah to prove everyone wrong and be a great striker. And I think to myself, well, why not? He's wearing the Arsenal shirt. Anyone with a cannon on their chest, I want the best for them. Doesn't matter if that's Xhaka, Nketiah, Willian, Arteta, Edu, Vinay, Kroenke. Don't care who it is. If they're at the club right now, I want success for them because that's the easiest, quickest way to what we all want for Arsenal Football Club.
So for you, you just mentioned a guy that I did not expect we would be talking about today. You actually back every player, even if agenda aside, you back every player. Doesn't matter what's going on. Going into that 90 minutes, I back every player myself. But after that game, when going into a new season, I say to myself, I question a lot of these players, and I just cannot put faith in guys that have let me down so many times, Mo.
No, I have no faith. I have no faith in people like Willian. Yeah, you look at his conditioning when he came back after pre-season. Absolutely awful. On his flipping Instagram, I watched him eating pizza, which is just mad to me. Like, as a professional footballer, don't put it on your Instagram story, for God's sake, especially if you're going to come back with a
beer belly.
Yeah, so stuff like that baffles me. So I've got no faith in him, but what do I want? I always kind of like, my analogy is, if there was a button, if I said, look, if you press this button, Willian would win player of the season. There's a lot of Arsenal fans, because of their tweets, because of what they've said on live streams, because of what they said on Instagram and that sort of thing, they put their own agenda and being proved right above what's better for the club. Now, if Willian wins player of the year, that's better for Arsenal. And I always want the most efficient, the most direct route to success. So that's the point that I always make. I would always press the button for Arsenal's betterment over my own agendas or over me looking like a know-it-all. That's my point. So all the players have my support. But yeah, I think it's an absolute joke that we signed Willian. I think it's a joke that he's still at the club. I think it's a joke the condition that he's in. I think it's a joke the fact that we haven't been able to move players on. I've got no real expectation this season, but I always want to be proved wrong. If this, what I've just said now about Willian, about moving players on, if all of this gets clipped up and I'm a meme, I'm sort of like on a video at the end of the season because Arsenal have won the league, I will be over the moon. Please find this video. If Arsenal win the league, and clip it up and say Mo doesn't know what he's talking about. Look at the rubbish he was saying at the start of the season. Nothing would make me happier.
There you go. I got a quick segment that I do on my channel. It takes like 5 minutes. I'm just gonna throw some stories at you. You tell me if you think they're fake news or real news. Okay. Martin Odegaard is Arsenal's priority signing this summer. Fake news or real news? Fake news. Okay. James Maddison to Arsenal is heating up, and Arsenal have hired a consortium to get James Maddison deal over the line. Do you think it's possible Arsenal could get this deal done? It currently seems like they're the only team in the running. The question I'm asking is, do you think it's fake news or real news that James Maddison to Leicester could even to Arsenal could even happen?
Whether it could happen or not, real news. But the consortium, like a specific consortium for it, fake news.
Fake news? Okay. When it comes to the next story, Kieran Trippier to sign for Arsenal.
Real news.
Real news. Okay.
I think so.
Caught off guard by that one. I thought you'd say fake news for that. The next story is the guy from Lazio, Joke Correa, to come to Arsenal for 17 million. Apparently, we've lodged a bid.
I don't know. I would have. It makes sense, to be fair. But I hadn't heard about it, so I'm going to say fake news just because I haven't heard about it.
Okay. Yasin Anderson has himself at a club in France, and it looks like they could sell him this season. Arsenal and Tottenham have made contact and are interested. We have been interested in the past. Do you, him possibly joining Arsenal this summer? Do you think that's real or fake?
How old is he?
He is currently, I think he's 20.
French youngster. You're asking me a French youngster linked to Arsenal, real or fake news? Real news all day, every day. French youngsters, real news.
Okay. And then what's the last one? The last one is, okay, Hector Bellerin. Hector Bellerin, we've had a blow for him to go to Inter, but do you still see him going to Real Betis, Sevilla, or being sold at all this summer? Real news or fake news that those clubs would actually come and bid for him?
Real news.
Okay. So you're hopeful that we could sell Bellerin. That's great.
And you'll notice that when you're talking about Trippier, English player coming back to England, and that's a big factor in why I'm saying real news. And you're talking about Bellerin, Spanish clubs. I think, yeah, real news. I think the appetite would be there on both sides.
Aaron Ramsdale. Real news or fake news that Arsenal are actually interested in buying him?
I have it on somewhat good authority that not the number, not the 30 million, for example, but I have it on some good authority that Arsenal just asked a question about status and availability and that sort of thing. So it makes a lot of sense to me if I say to you like, oh, Egal, that hoodie, can I buy one of those? That's like, realistic. That's kind of what Arsenal did. What I've been told is kind of an extension of the truth is me saying, Egal, I'll give you £500 for that hoodie. Therefore, the obvious analogy is Arsenal saying 30 million for Aaron Ramsdale. So just asking the question, real news, 30 million, I hope fake news.
Okay. And then Sander Bergs listed for £20 million.
Fake news, I'd say.
Okay. Awar, since his brother is his agent and causing madness in the transfer windows, nobody's actually going in for him. Apparently, Arsenal, if they were to go in for him, they would have a free hit. We'd be able to get him for at least £22 million.
Real news.
Real news. Here's one. I genuinely think the Onana deal is real news, but supposedly Arsenal have not even reached out to Onana's club, Ajax, or his representative in regards to a deal.
So are you asking about the transfer or the fact that we haven't reached out?
The fact that we haven't reached out.
Real news.
Real news. So you believe we haven't reached out. But do you think we can still get him?
I hope so, because from what we understand, his transfer is falling through. Or has fallen through for whatever reason. I'm not actually sure. So on that basis,
Leon didn't want to pay the money.
Pardon?
Leon did not want to pay the money, $5 million.
I mean, does that make sense to you?
They're trying a thing. It's a thing that people do in the window. It's early in the window. If someone tells you 5 million, you test them by saying we're only willing to pay 3. And
yeah, but this is my point. I get when you're negotiating for Maddison and it's 60 million or 52 million, right? £8 million saving, yeah, that sort of thing. But 5 million.
This is Leon. This is Leon we're talking about.
But, look, what do you think is going to happen? If Leon signed him for 5 million, what's his value going to be in a year's time?
We don't know. He hasn't played football for a year, so they have to protect themselves.
Your downside is 5 million. Your upside could be 20. I just don't think, I can't believe that that's the reason. 5 million is pocket change. I'll be very glad if he's still available to the end of the transfer window, because then at that point, I think Arsenal will be looking at it saying, if we haven't signed a reserve keeper, we need someone, and then you just have to make the move that's available. And I think Onana, I really would like that move to happen for Arsenal.
Jesse Lingard to Leicester as a possible Maddison replacement. Fake news or real news?
Oh, that's a tough one,
This is a good game, right?
Yeah, man, because I'm thinking Brendan Rodgers, would he go for someone like Lingard? Do you know what? I might say real news. Because Lingard had an incredible loan spell at West Ham, proved a lot of people, myself included, wrong. I despise him, but yeah, who knows? Could happen.
Okay. Arsenal don't sign another player for the rest of the window.
Fake news. Won't happen.
Won't happen. We will get a deal done.
Yeah.
Okay. Arsenal won't have another outgoing this summer after Joe Willock.
Oh, God. I think that could be real news. Because Nketiah's injured, we've got players on such good wages that even like giving him on a free, Kolasinac on a free, who's taking him? So I worry that could be real news, which would be
Eddie Nketiah to Brighton for 20 million.
Yeah, but Nketiah's injured now.
It's done. Yeah, that's not happening.
Not all clubs buy injured players. Only Arsenal with Kim Kallstrom,
No, we bought Mari, who's injured. We bought Cedric, who's injured. And then he didn't even kick a ball for Arsenal. We gave him a 4-year deal. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, Arsenal do it, but not every club does it. But imagine if Nketiah does go and we get Basuma over. I don't know about you, but I'd love Basuma to come over. You know, it's not like we're getting anyone else in. So
Yeah, I completely hear that. And then finally, Arteta gets sacked before December.
not before December, but I can see him getting sacked this season.
Oh man. Oh man, it's gonna be a tough season ahead of us, man. Enough about fake news, real news. Thank you, Mo, for your time. I appreciate it greatly. Big up to all the 200 people in the chat right now. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel if you're new. After this video, I'll be talking more in depth about the transfers that happened today, the rumors that are happening today. I know I'm one of those aggregators, so Mo, that's what I do. I like to, I enjoy it. I genuinely do. But have yourselves a wonderful day, guys. Appreciate Mo for coming on, and thank you all 250 guys who've jumped in and out throughout the chat. Appreciate you guys. Have yourselves a wonderful day. We're out of here. Peace.